Good day, everyone. Welcome to this fifth presentation in my series on generational wealth. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about bridging the gap between the generations. Because within such a family, there's maybe grandma and grandpa, yourself and the children, and maybe even grandchildren. And how should we think about this, and how should we manage this? So I'm going to look at some guidelines from family systems theory, linking to what we did last time, generational mindsets, then using some insight from Erikson's life stages, and then how do I apply this in 2025 to my family? So first of all, what we have seen, and I've referred that probably in one of my very first presentations, is that wealth transfer has more to do with relational stuff, and relationship reasons are more often than not the reason why it does not succeed. And that's because families pass on attitudes, expectations, unresolved tension along with the money that goes with that. So we are going to look at, but what can we do, or how can we assist our generations to thrive across this? So just to summarize again, the guidelines from family systems theory. Number one, emotional maturity, that we should have the openness to discuss these things within the family and to, let's say, be emotionally detached from that. Now, for some people it's easier. I think for accountants like myself, it's more easy, but we have to work towards that. And then number two is to have very clear roles about how are we going to work in this family, how will decisions be taken, and we will talk about that again when we talk about family governance. How do we treat everybody fair so that we avoid favoritism? What's going to be the responsibilities if you are working in the family business, if you are a trustee, if you are on the family board, etc. Then again, open communications, that we can discuss the money matters and the important family matters, guidelines on how we do that we will address as well when we talk about family governance. And then as part of family governance and succession, that we have a plan to mentor the next generation. What I've read on generational wealth is that in most families, people wait too long to start involving the next generation. And then lastly, respectfully dealing with conflict. How will we deal with conflict? How will we deal with it if we differ? And staying away from triangulation, where we try to draw in a third person to support my viewpoint, and that just results in family feuds. So there's various generations within our families. We have the baby boomers, that's the people now at retirement age. For them, traditional family values is very important. They worked very hard. They took on very little debt because interest rates were very high in their time, so they don't like debt. And for them, having inheritance, having values is very important. And we actually see that the whole world is preparing for this huge generational wealth transfer because of the baby boomers. They took out investments that took time to grow, and that's what they have these days. Then we have the Generation X. That's more or less where I'm fitting in. Guys born between 1964-66 up till around 1980, 1984. They were more independent. And why are we more independent? Because in many of these families, both parents started to work to improve the living standard. So you had to go home, unlock for yourself, make your own little sandwich for the afternoon. We were allowed, or we could still, it was safe enough for us to drive to school with our bicycles, etc. So also not growing up with a lot of money, so cautious savers. And I can just see it in my own life that you want to transfer this financial wisdom to the next generation. And then we get the millennials. They were much more flexible. They grew up with the IT stuff. They were tech savvy. For them, experiences are more important than the money, because they grow up in a time where there was a bit more money to go around, and they want to leave an impact. And ethical stuff is important for them. Where they invest, what they invest in, and then lastly, our generation Z's. That's now where my children, between the millennials and Generation Z's, where most of our children will come in. They grew up in a global world. I mean, for my son to apply for companies internationally to work for is nothing strange. They grew up in blended families. They are exposed to crypto, artificial intelligence. Mental health is for them something that's more important than money. And they are very brand conscious about themselves. What do they portray? And now you can just see, looking at these different generations, how we can focus on different things. I focus on the money stuff and what I'm going to leave to the children, whereas the children may be more concerned about the experiences that they have and their own mental health. And then when we decide, but what are we going to do with the money, there may be conflicts arising. So this generational differences influence our family structure. What is seen as important, who should be included, our financial priorities, and what do we define as what we want to leave. And if we don't acknowledge this, the conflict that may arise can just as well derail our plans. So how do we bring that into what Erikson's life stages tell us? So for me, if we just look, if you have infants at the moment in the house, we want to instill with them trust from the caregivers, so that they can know that whatever decisions we take will be in their best interest. If we look at early childhood development, there we develop will. We want to give them some autonomy, but with guidance, so that they can learn. So it's almost part of preparing the next generation. Starts already with early childhood. And then we get the age at which children should play. And there again, we can develop creativity. For most businesses, the entrepreneurial part of our generational wealth, we need entrepreneurs. We need people with creativity, making plans within safe boundaries. And then at school age, to develop competence. I mean, that's where they really learn the basic arithmetic, language skills, etc. And to balance that with a balanced lifestyle, with school activities, etc., so that they can develop and start to understand the roles that everybody play in the family. And then if we look at the adolescence, that's where we grow up a bit more with our emotions, where we understand how we can manage that emotions. That's the teenagers that gets very upset. And how do we balance this? Because if I don't learn how to cope with it, later on in our family, it can really disrupt things. And then with early childhood or early adulthood, to develop independence, that I can take my own decisions, and especially that the children do not become, let's call it, dependent on the wealth of the parents, but that they can build their own independence. And then into adulthood, we can then start to mentor them. My son and his girlfriend was just here showing me a car that they are thinking of buying closer to the end of the year. And it was nice for me, and I saw it really as a privilege to talk to them and share with them what I've learned in buying cars, etc. And I think that's where the old age come in, that we don't write off the elders in our families, but really use them for their reflection, for their wisdom and their knowledge. So how can I apply this today in 2025 in my family? If you have these generational alpha kids, develop trust with them, that they can know that the family is a safe environment, with balances of screen time, real connection, that they know that the rest of the family are not people just on the other side of a screen. Our generational Z children that may struggle with identity in a digital world, there are so many digital tools that we can use to develop them, that they can use to improve their knowledge, etc. And I'm going to talk about financial literacy in the next session. And then for millennials, seeking meaning and in this world of instability, what can we bring from the family to provide them this meaning, to also recognize that experiences and purpose is also important and not the money. And then for our generational X and the boomers, really that we can thrive. And I talked about that in my retirement sessions, that we need to have purpose, and to share and to mentor can really make a huge difference in the lives of our children. So, success across the generations depends on listening, sometimes letting go of the past and leading with love. And there's a place for everyone to slot into this. So, my challenge to you this week, make an appointment to talk to your children, grandchildren, about money and emotions, how you deal with it, how you see it. And then I want to challenge you. There's a link in the article on MoneyWeb to take a family systems health test that will provide you with let's call it an agenda to discuss this within your family. You complete it online, and then I will email you the results and your agenda to discuss. And then I have a family meeting about how differently the different generations see this. In my family, I've decided that I and my wife will do it, and we'll have the kids do it, and then talk about what we see differently and why we see it differently. And it can just be a very meaningful conversation to start off. Okay,